Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. On behalf of Shri Radha Govinda Mandir in Brooklyn, New York, we are pleased to welcome everyone to the Sunday Feast lecture. Tonight, we are so fortunate to have His Holiness Bhakti Rasayana Sagar Swami with us, who will give the lecture on the topic of creating the right mindset for encountering the holy name. I will give the brief introduction of Maharaj for those people who heard about Maharaj but not familiar so much with him. So Maharaj is a disciple of His Holiness Indradyumna Swami Maharaj, and he joined ISKCON in Moscow, Russia. And now Maharaj is a teacher and a trainer who has made 14 full round the world travels in the field of work, of whom there are more than 20 countries on 4 continents. He's a founder and international coordinator of Spiritual United Nations, with offices at the UN headquarters in Geneva in New York, and the Ideal Leadership School in Mayapur. Maharaj has been educated as a mediator conflictologist at Harvard University. And his track record includes resolving conflict situations in the field of politics and high-level business in the CIS countries, which is former Soviet Union countries, Great Britain, USA, India, etc. Now Maharaj will enlighten us on the topic of creating the right mindset for encountering the holy name, and we'll have a short kirtan beforehand. Everyone, welcome once again. And after the Maharaj is done with the lecture, you're welcome to ask questions. You can write in the chat, and we will read the answers, the questions to Maharaj, and he will try to answer your questions. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna. Maharaj, you are welcome to start the kirtan.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Wonderful to see all of you. So tonight we will start with a short kirtan, and before that I wanted to suggest that actually it's good to check, do we have an hour or more? What are the time limits for tonight?
We have 1 hour and like 20 minutes for everything.
Okay. So the best part always is interaction. And so if any devotees have questions, you can ask them without waiting for the class to stop. Actually, we'll be reading one text from Bhagavad Gita, and even if you have questions on the purport, you can also ask them. So we'll be reading from the 4th chapter, text 11, and I'll be sharing the text on your screen. So we will start with a short kirtan, Jai Radha Madhava, and then move on to the prayers to Hari Guru and Vaishnavas and Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, questions can be either, you can put questions in the chat box, so we will see them there, or you can ask them verbally as well, as you like. Hare Krishna. So for kirtan, ideally, everyone can mute their microphones and sing for themselves, not to create disharmony. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Gopidana Vallabha Girivarathadi Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopidana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopidana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada 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 Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Yagi Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna. So again, it's wonderful to see everyone. And so we'll start with the prayers to Guru Krishna and Vaishnavas. And then we'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita. This is chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge, text 11. And as we've mentioned before, if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask them at any time, even straight after we finish reading purport, if you will, because the discussions are the best part of the class, as always. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyanandana Shalakaya Chaksharanmritam Yana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanyavano Vishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mayam Dadati Swaparantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasani Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bhai Mahat Prema Pro Vibhurnya Makshatyadam Shpurusha Munkta Gnan Sudasa Sadasat Makalam Krishishta Bhagavan Vacham Sime. So we'll be sharing this text on our screen. So this is very famous text, and you're welcome to chant Sanskrit responsibly together with us. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yayatha mam prapajante. Yayatha mam prapajante. Tam tathaiva bhajamyaham. Tam tathaiva bhajamyaham. Mama vartmanu vartante. Mama vartmanu vartante. Manushya partha sarvashaha. Manushya partha sarvashaha. Yayathamam prapadyante tamstathaiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanuvartante manushya partha sarvashaha. So we will be looking into synonyms. Please chant responsibly. Yeah. All who. Yatha. As. Mam. Unto me. Prapadyante. Surrender. Tam. Them. Tadha. So. Eva. Certainly. Bhajami. Reward. Aham. I. Mama. My. Vartma. Path. Anuvartante. Follow. Manushaha. All men. Partha. O son of Pritha. Sarvashaha. In all respects. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. Purport. Everyone is searching for Krishna in the different aspects of his manifestations. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is partially realized in his impersonal Brahma Jyoti effulgence and as the all-pervading supersoul dwelling within everything, including the particles of atoms. But Krishna is fully realized only by his pure devotees. Consequently, Krishna is the object of everyone's realization, and thus anyone and everyone is satisfied according to one's desire to have him. In the transcendental world also, Krishna reciprocates with his pure devotees in the transcendental attitude, just as the devotee wants him. One devotee may want Krishna as Supreme Master, another as his personal friend, another as his son, and still another as his lover. Krishna rewards all the devotees equally according to their different intensities of love for him. In the material world, the same reciprocations of feelings are there, and they are equally exchanged by the Lord with the different types of worshippers. The pure devotees both here and in the transcendental abode associate with him in person and are able to render personal service to the Lord and thus derive transcendental bliss in his loving service. As for those who are impersonalists and who want to commit spiritual suicide by annihilating the individual existence of the living entity, Krishna helps also by absorbing them into his effulgence. Such impersonalists do not agree to accept the eternal blissful personality of Godhead. Consequently, they cannot relish the bliss of transcendental personal service to the Lord, having extinguished their individuality. Some of them, who are not firmly situated even in the impersonal existence, return to this material field to exhibit their dormant desires for activities. They are not admitted into the spiritual planets, but they are again given a chance to act on the material planets. For those who are fruitive workers, the Lord awards the desired results of their prescribed duties as the Yageshwara. And those who are yogis seeking mystic powers are awarded such powers. In other words, everyone is dependent for success upon His mercy alone, and all kinds of spiritual processes are but different degrees of success on the same path. Unless, therefore, one comes to the highest perfection of Krishna consciousness, all attempts remain imperfect, as stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 2.3.10. Akama sarva kamava moksha kamudaradhi tivrena bhakti yogena yacheta purusham param. Whether one is without desire, the condition of the devotees, or is desirous of all fruitive results, or is after liberation, one should with all effort try to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead for complete perfection, culminating in Krishna consciousness. Yathamam prapadyante tamstata bhajamyaham mama vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvashaha. Hare Krishna. So, our today's topic, creating the right mindset for encountering the holy name. And the most important point in relation to the holy name is the holy name and Krishna is the same person. And this verse we've read is a very famous verse which helps us to understand what's happening when we're chanting the holy name, because we're developing our relationship with Krishna. Ultimately, we are meant to surrender unto Krishna. And Krishna is saying that there are different degrees of surrender. And he reciprocates with everyone according to their degree of surrender. And what is Krishna's position? He is the one who fulfills everybody's desires. Nitya Nityanam Chetanas Chetanam Ekava Bhavana Sarva Vidadati Aman. It says that amongst all the eternals and all the conscious, there is one special living entity, the Supreme Lord, who fulfills everybody's desires. And so everything is a fulfillment of our desires from the Lord. When we chant the holy name, that's why Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur described the holy name as Harinama Chintamani, the wish-fulfilling stone. And Krishna is fulfilling our desires according to our degree of surrender. Actually, in this particular verse in Bhagavad Gita, the word bhajanti is used, and bhajanti is actually connected to service. So Krishna says, according to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that I am serving everybody according to their degree of surrender. This is very interesting. We're trying to serve Krishna, and actually Krishna is already serving us forever, because he is taking care of everyone, all living entities, and no one can even survive without him. That there are so many things we're dependent on. And Krishna explains very clearly how he is serving all of us in chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita. He explains that he is giving us light, he is giving us planet, to live on. He is giving us food, and he is even giving us the power of digestion, because we're all depending on the food we eat and on the power of our digestion. According to Ayurveda, the digestion is the root of health or disease. And so it's all done by Krishna. And we can understand that he's giving so much more. And we are all depending on him, whether materially or spiritually. And it depends on our surrender, how he will reciprocate with us. And therefore, it's really important to have the right mindset in the chanting of the holy name. And what is the right mindset? Srila Prabhupada described. The chanting is our prayer or our call to serve the Lord. This is the only thing we want. We want service. Of course, we might say, well, I need so many other things, right? I need money. I need some success in my activities. I need some position in the society. What else do I need? So many things. If we make the list of the things we need, it might be pretty long. And it appears like something disconnected from service, but actually, if we think about it, for example, the kind of work you do or your business, right? It's all related to service, right? You're serving someone. Even businesses, that business means you're providing some essential services to the society. That's why they pay you money. And so we can understand that actually it is service which gives us everything, not everything, but many things we need, they come from service, but not everything. Why not everything? Because our service is not perfect. The perfect service is serving the Supreme Lord. I'll give you the example. Say, if you're serving someone who has very high position, right? Say, if you're a government servant on a very high level, do you think you will need much materially? No, that definitely all your needs will be covered automatically. So we can understand the higher the service is, the greater the reciprocation. And so serving the Supreme Lord means everything is already included in the package. So that's why the smart people, they want to be engaged in the Lord's service. That's why Chaitanya Charitamrita says that devotees are the most intelligent. There is one story which illustrates how it was happening, that there was one king in one kingdom, and he decided to show some charitable mindset, and he said he will be putting so many valuable things on the city square, and all his subjects can come and they can pick up whatever they want. And so he placed his own throne in there, and he was sitting there enjoying the fun, because so many people, they were taking whatever they wanted, and they were coming and thanking the king. And there was one young lady And she came and she was looking at the king, and the king was asking her that you're not picking up anything from here. You know, it might be late. Everyone might take all the best things. And so you better don't waste your time. And she said, I already chose what I want. And she just asked, are you sure I can take anything which is in here on this square? And the king said, yes, absolutely. And then the girl said, I chose you. I want to be your wife. And so actually she made the best choice, because being the queen means you have not just something from the king, but having the king means you have everything. And so in the same way, devotees, they don't really look for anything but Krishna, because they understand that if I serve Krishna, I will have everything for myself, to such an extent that I won't have to worry about anything else. And we can see Srila Prabhupada's example, so many other devotees' example. The greater one's surrender to Krishna is, the less one has to worry about anything material. That Krishna is providing everything automatically, as Prabhupada says, that Krishna is providing every single living entity, birds, elephants, with their food and everything else. And none of them work. Out of 8,400,000 species of life, only human beings are working. And so nobody else is working, but everybody is provided with everything. So we can understand that the best work we can do is serving Krishna. But of course, you might be asking so many questions on this point. That, okay, if I will be just serving Krishna and not doing any work, who will pay my bills? Yeah, it's a good question. So it's just a matter of faith. It's just a matter of developing our attitude, understanding that serving Krishna is the best kind of work. So Raja Sila is asking, but if one still worries, does that indicate lack of faith? Worries, that's interesting. We have so many warriors. People are worrying all the time about so many things. Worry is fear. And of course, fear is the primary symptom of material life. That's why Srimad Bhagavatam explains Bhaya Dvitiya Biniveshata Syat, that fear is resulting in duality of material existence, and it is abhinivesha, it is creating material conditioning. And so, interestingly enough, when Srila Prabhupada was asked what chanting of Hare Krishna is giving you, what benefit, his first answer was fearlessness. So, yeah, I mean, if we understand that Krishna is here, why should we have any fear, right? Fear is created because we don't understand that Krishna is always with us. Of course, it doesn't. We don't mean to say that you have to drop everything, whatever you have, and surrender. Artificially, Actually, we're supposed to surrender with everything we have. But there are certain stages of our surrendering unto Krishna, and Bhagavad Gita describes all of them. So the first thing is to understand that we don't have to worry about anything. Krishna is taking care of us in all respects, no matter what's happening in our lives. And second is to understand that we're not the body, we're spirit soul, which means you have the potential to do practically anything as long as you want, as long as you serve Krishna. There is nothing impossible. Actually, Srila Prabhupada, he made that statement. The impossible is the word from the Fool's Dictionary when he gave his disciple Rameshwar the order to print the entire set of Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is 17 volumes, in 2 months. And Rameshwar Prabhu was telling him, you know, 1 volume in 2 months. And Prabhupada said, no, that's too slow. You have to print all 17 volumes in 2 months. And Rameshwar Prabhu was shocked. He said, how this is possible? This is impossible. And then Prabhupada said, impossible is the word from the Fool's Dictionary. So you have to arrange, you know, like 17 times faster than he was so planning, right? That he gave him 17 times less time, 17 times less time that he was planning. And then Rameshwar Prabhu had to surrender, right? And then they have really done the impossible because, I mean, one thing that devotees were working around the clock, transcribing and editing and everything else. But the books also require illustrations, paintings, right? And so the BBT artists, they were also working around the clock with shifts, right? That one devotee was doing painting for 6 hours, and then he would go and sleep for 6 hours. And then the other devotee would come in, and that devotee would finish the painting or would continue the painting. I mean, that was never done. I mean, it's not possible in that sense, right? That artists, they all have their individual styles and everything, right? So how can one artist continue the painting for the other artist? But they had to adjust. And they've done the wonderful job. All the illustrations in Chaitanya Charitamrita are very nice, we can see. And they follow the same style and everything. So it was Sankirtan spirit. They were doing things together. And so then at the end, Rameshwar Prabhu sent Srila Prabhupada the message that everything is done as you requested us, that by your mercy, the miracle had happened. We finished all the 17 volumes in 2 months. So Srila Prabhupada showed by his own example, and he was also telling the devotees that they should have full faith in the instruction of the spiritual master, and that this instruction is beyond our material conditioning. So that is the secret of success. Srila Prabhupada explains that if we're focused on the instruction given to us by our spiritual master, no matter how challenging it is, that if we are really serious about it, there is nothing impossible. So that's really important to understand, that we are limiting ourselves. Nobody else is limiting us, right? And of course, the limitation is our consciousness, that as long as we think of ourselves and maybe our families only, then we're limiting ourselves, right? We can see that the secret of success, even materially, is broader consciousness, right? That those people who have higher responsibility and greater success, the only difference between them and other people is broader consciousness. And it's actually very interesting how Srila Prabhupada quotes that famous verse from the Bhagavatam, again, 2.3.10, Akama sarvakamava mokshakama udarati tivrena bhakti yogina yajata purusham param. That it doesn't really matter if you are devoid of all the desires as devotees normally are, or you have all types of desires as materialistic people, or you're desiring liberation as impersonalists. If you have broad consciousness, udaradhi, if you are broad-minded, then Tivrena Bhakti Yogina, you can seriously dedicate yourself to the practice of Krishna consciousness and the Ajata Purusham Param, achieve the topmost perfection. So broad consciousness is directly connected to focused Krishna consciousness, which is very interesting. It's like with the goal settings, that it works in what you call it, counterintuitive ways. Normally people think if I only have one goal, then I can be focused. But no, actually it works the other way around. The more goals you have and the bigger goals you have, the more you can be focused. Because if it is just one small thing, it doesn't require any surrender. But if you have a lot of things, and on the high level, it kind of stimulates your potential. And we all have huge potential untapped, and we never use that potential. And we understand that potential is spiritual, right? And if we look at Srila Prabhupada's example, that he showed us that no one can have an excuse, even like the old devotees, some devotees who are like in late 60s, early 70s, they are saying that doing big things for Guru and Krishna, that's for younger devotees. I don't have that health and energy. And my body is already too old for that, but we can say that Prabhupada never had health nor young age, right? And what he did was much more than everybody else. So it doesn't really depend on the body. It only depends on the consciousness, on the spirit. And once we have broader consciousness, which is connected to Krishna consciousness, then we can actually work with so many other people together, which is the Sankirtan spirit, right? Cooperation in the service of the Supreme Lord. And then we can really achieve a lot for Guru and Krishna. We're not saying that achievements are the only thing, in Krishna consciousness, but it also is important because Srila Prabhupada was quite critical of those devotees who are only interested in their own spiritual advancement alone, right? That like Babajis in Vrindavan or at Radhakund, they're just sitting there. I mean, not all of them, of course, there are pure devotees amongst them also, but many times these are people who are only interested in their so-called spiritual advancement, but really what they want is recognition, right? That they want to be recognized as great devotees. So it really is just focused on themselves, being focused on themselves, right? Which is really narrow consciousness. How can I be recognized as great devotee? How can I be liberated? How can I get spiritual benefit? What about little me? So that's not Krishna consciousness, and that's why they don't really advance. But if someone is forgetting about oneself and tirelessly engaged in serving Guru Krishna and Vaishnavas, that is the best way to advance spiritually. Even at normal work, if you're only interested in salary, right? If the only thing you always like asking your boss for is to increase your salary, and then it's not a good attitude, right? That normally all the benefits are given to those who are only focused on service. So that's why Srila Prabhupada said the best thing is to only ask for service from Krishna when we chant the holy name. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was telling the same thing, because it includes everything. All right, so let's see if we have more questions or comments or complaints or suggestions.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I actually have a few as time allows.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, let me start with since you just finished mentioning so much about being broad-minded. Can you define exactly what you mean by broad-minded, and then why does broad-minded mean being Krishna conscious?
Okay, thank you. So the best example of broad-mindedness can be seen from Srila Prabhupada's purposes. When he established ISKCON, he established certain purposes which were kind of shortened for the sake of simplicity, and originally there are 14 purposes, and they can be read in the original papers. So Prabhupada registered, but then what we know is 7 purposes of ISKCON, which were also approved by Srila Prabhupada. And the first purpose is giving the example of broad-mindedness to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large and educate all peoples. Sometimes some devotees might think it's a mistake to say peoples in plural, but it's not a mistake, because people means certain nation maybe, but when we speak about peoples in plural, it refers to all nations all over the world. That actually is the United Nations term. And so educate all peoples in the techniques of spiritual life to check the imbalance of values in life and achieve real unity and peace in the world. So this is how broad-minded Srila Prabhupada was, that he didn't come just to give us another type of religion or something, because sometimes people think that Krishna consciousness is one type of religion. No, it's a spiritual science, and Prabhupada didn't care which religion people practiced, because the principles are the same. It's always the same. It's always truthfulness, compassion, purity, and austerity as the foundation. And it's always developing pure love for God as the topmost achievement, right? And because people don't have these things, neither foundation nor goal, no matter what they do, no matter what kind of practice, spiritual practice they are involved, they don't have the roadmap to reach the destination. And so that's why Srila Prabhupada wanted to help all of them to advance spiritually, no matter who they are and which religion they belong to. So he wanted to take care of every single being on earth. And actually, one disciple, when he was sharing with him that it's so inspiring that you're worried, you want to benefit everyone on earth. And Srila Prabhupada looked at him and he said, actually, I want to benefit. I want the whole universe to become Krishna conscious. I'm worrying about the entire universe. So Srila Prabhupada's mind was much broader than we can either ever imagine. So, and broad-minded, this means we are thinking of benefiting as many as we can in this lifetime. So that's the definition. And of course, being selfless, that's included in there. So I hope that is answering your question. So
Yeah, thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
there is another question from Natalia from Montreal. We should answer this question in the chat. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my obeisances unto you as well. Thanks for the class. I would like to ask a question. Are the feelings that we experience on earth present in the spiritual world? Present in the spiritual world and vice versa? Are our spiritual experiences of relations with God in the spiritual world purer and stronger than we have here? Or are they qualitatively different? Is the prema from the spiritual world different from that carried by Chaitanya on earth? Is the opinion correct that Chaitanya did not experience prema because this is impossible on earth, but he was at the level of the highest bhava? Actually, definitely, whoever says that Lord Chaitanya could not experience prema doesn't really understand neither Krishna consciousness nor who is God, because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even though he came as human being, he actually was Krishna, and therefore he was showing example in many ways, but there were certain things which were not possible for any human being. And yes, the happiness of pure love of God, the happiness of prema, is so intense that the acharyas are explaining that if our physical bodies, if our mortal bodies would experience that surge of bliss, they would just, die. The body will not be able to handle that. And that's why it says that the pure love of Krishna can only be experienced in the spiritual body. We can see that certain gopis who were striving to see Krishna, they wanted to go to Krishna, but they were prevented by their husbands, and they left their bodies, and in their spiritual bodies they joined Krishna. So but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being Krishna himself, he was experiencing those transformations. Actually, there is one book which is called Prema Vivarta by Jagadananda Pandit, and Vivarta literally means transformations. So, and we can read in Chaitanya Charitamrita how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, sometimes because of the influence of Krishna Prema, his body would shrink, like literally his hands and legs would go into his body, and he would turn into the kind of golden ball, just with the head, like really strange body, and he would fall at the gates, near the gates of Jagannath temple, and then would lie there in this strange form. And then, of course, the Supreme Lord's body is very fragrant and has very nice taste as well. So the cows would come and lick the body. And so this is how the associates of Mahaprabhu would discover him. So, or sometimes his body would become so elongated that it would completely, everything would be completely disconnected. So, I mean, we cannot do things like that. Things like that can only happen to the Supreme Lord, but he was showing what's happening with the body when one is experiencing Krishna Prema. If any of us would have this experience, I mean, like imagine hands and legs going inside of your body. Would you be able to survive that? No chance. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was the Supreme Lord. So nothing was happening to his body. Like when he was dancing at Ratha Yatra, he would leap in the air so high, probably higher than human height, and would actually faint in the air and would crash down against the ground with a crushing sound. And everyone was thinking that, he's finished. I mean, he fell from such a height, unconscious, so he broke all his bones. But at, second later, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would, jump again and continue dancing like that. So, I mean, many things Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did, I mean, are not imitable. So, but he was experiencing Krishna Prema, but yeah, he was the only one. Nobody else can experience, I mean, no mortal being can ever experience these levels of Krishna Prema as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All right, I hope that is answering Natalia's question. So, anyone else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, if nobody else has, I do have a couple more.
At that scale, right?
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, please.
Another question I had was when you said that, we humans are the only ones who are working. Krishna is taking care of all other species of life. But we also do see that, animals, you see the birds, you see the squirrels, their whole life is evolved around, gathering their food. So I wasn't clear what you really meant by that.
Yeah.
They seem to be working very hard, actually.
Yes. Well, working means depending on others. As Prabhupada would often give the example of an ass. That ass is working for the laundryman, carrying all these loads on his back. The laundryman in India, they really, to take care of other people's laundry doesn't give you like huge money. So they try to get as much laundry as they can, and they wash it, and like huge load. And while it's still wet, they put it on the uh, back of the donkey to take it somewhere to hang for drying, and it's very heavy, and this donkey is always carrying that load. And why he's carrying that load? Because he is expecting his master to give him some grass, and the donkey doesn't understand that grass is growing everywhere. So I'll give you a practical example that we're all thinking that we need to work to make money, right? That to give parallel with the grass, which is growing everywhere, and you don't have to work for the grass. So we all need money, that's given. But I can tell you that in this world, especially in America, there is more money than you can ever imagine. Prabhupada was saying that, America is such a place that especially in New York, is such a place that you just put your hand out of the window and in a few minutes, like $100 bill will land on your hand. It's figuratively speaking. But, it's just an indication that money is everywhere and you don't have to work for money. What you have to do is to think of what you want to do with money. If you think about it, what is more important? Earning or spending in the right way? Spending, using the money, right? And there are so many.
So it's kind of hard to separate those two, I think.
Sorry?
I think it's kind of difficult for me to kind of separate those two, because to spend in the right way, normally you have to first earn it, unless you inherit it from somebody.
No. There are so many people who are spending and they haven't earned anything. But because they want to spend it for some important cause and they have proper experience, they know how to spend it. There are tons of money. There are foundations, grants available, endowments, all types of sources from where you can get any kind of money. And it's also understood that certain amount, certain percentage of that you will be using for yourself as your salary or your whatever. And everyone is fine with that. So it's like, if you think about earning, you'll be killing yourself your whole life by earning money. But if you will think about spending them properly to benefit everyone, you wouldn't have to worry about earning. It's already earned by other people, much more than they need. And now, just simple example of Bill Gates, poor guy. He's I have to check it that he pledged to give away either 80 or 90% of all his wealth in his lifetime, and he's working so hard trying to do that. You know, like, I'm not sure if he will ever succeed, because by the law of karma, the more you give, the more comes back. And so how he will manage it, I'm not sure. But he's trying so hard. He gave up his work altogether. He delegated responsibilities for his business to other people. And now he's working only on his foundation, trying to, distribute his wealth. So if you want to help him, help this poor man. I mean, he is rich, but he is poor in that sense. Actually, he is giving to the devotees as well, if devotees give him the right causes. It's like billions and billions of dollars already earned, just one man, and he's not the only one. There's so many people. I mean, trillions available. And they just waiting for someone who knows how to spend it properly, that's all. So, okay. But it's a good question. Thank you, Gabe.
Thank you, Osha Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. So, ISKCON New York. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. My dandavats unto you as well. I have a question. How can we recognize that Krishna reciprocates to us, especially in the beginning of our spiritual life? Wow. I mean, this is really interesting question, because I'm thinking how it is possible to not recognize Krishna's reciprocation. Probably none of us would be practicing Krishna consciousness now if we would not see Krishna's reciprocation, especially in the beginning of our spiritual life, when our faith is really soft. It's not very strong, and we do require reciprocation to develop our faith. I mean, I have so many of my personal experiences how Krishna was reciprocating, and he still is reciprocating. I mean, Krishna conscious process does work, and really depends on the level of responsibility you take, the level of services you take, then the more reciprocations you have. I mean, Krishna is always protecting. Krishna is always providing. Krishna is always giving intelligence. There are so many ways Krishna is reciprocating. It's really hard not to see Krishna's reciprocation. So, I mean, if you want to clarify your question, what exact reciprocation you meant or you were looking for, then maybe we could discuss. I was thinking that my spiritual master gave me Govardhan Shila to worship, and Govardhan is famous for 3 functions, which are very clearly outlined in Bhagavatam, that the first function is providing, because Krishna says, let's worship Govardhan, because Govardhan is providing us with everything we need in our lives. And second is protection, because Govardhan protected everybody from the wrath of Indra. And third, and the most important function of Govardhan, is uniting. So Govardhan united everyone around Krishna, which is also the 4th purpose of ISKCON, to bring members of this society together and nearer to Krishna, the prime living entity. All right, so any other questions? We still have a few more minutes left.
If nobody has, I do have just one last one.
Okay, please, Gail. Go ahead.
Yeah, it relates to the verse that we read. I'm so happy that you decided to do this because it's been a problem for me. So when Krishna says in the translation, everyone follows my path. When he says everyone, is he also referring to the Vikarmis, meaning those who are not, consulting the Vedas in any kind of way for the fulfillment of their material desires? I do realize that, toward the end of the purport, he seems to kind of translate what he means by saying, in other words, everyone is dependent for success upon his mercy alone. So I don't know if that means that even the Vikarmis, they are dependent on him and follow his path in that respect. And also if you could elucidate on what he means by my path.
Yes.
I think that, when he says everyone is dependent on him, on his mercy, maybe that's what he means by my path. So those are my questions. What about the Vikarmis, and what does he mean by my path? Something like that.
All right. Thank you, Gail. Yes, that actually it is very clear that there is only one path for everybody. And Krishna's path means Krishna's laws, right? Like you have laws in New York and in America, and you have only two options in regards to the laws. You can either follow the laws or you can break the laws, right? And
Yes.
if you follow the laws, you get benefit. And if you break the laws, you suffer, right? So that's the path. The authority is set for everybody. Like Prabhupada would often give the example that like in America, you're supposed to drive on your right-hand side, right? And in India, people supposed to drive on their left-hand side. So in India, everyone is driving clockwise. In America, everyone is driving anti-clockwise. And so this is the law. And so if you say, I don't care about the law, like if you drive in India and if you say, okay, I'm used to driving on the on my right, so I want to drive on the same side when I'm in India, right? First of all, you're creating accidents, and second of all, you're breaking the law like that, and no one will allow that, right? So in the same way, that's the path, right? The road. And so there are only two options on the road, but you can see that many people break their laws on the road, and sometimes they get away with it if they are lucky. But it's not that it will always be happening. If one is habituated to breaking the rules, one will finally be, caught and fined. So that's why, Krishna is setting the same path for everybody, but it depends which way and how you want to drive on this, or how you want to follow this path, right? So, but the path is one for everyone. So that's the idea. On the same path, you can go forwards, and you can, depends on how far you go. You might go to, all the way to the spiritual world. You can go midway to the Brahma Jyoti, or you can go a little bit forward to the spiritual planets, or you can get stuck on the path, right? You can just stand still, like in India. It's really funny how they, like they, if they have a breakdown, they don't have the hard shoulder. They just park right on the lane. They just park in the middle of the road. And sometimes it's night and there are, like there are no lights, and some huge truck parked in the middle of the, motorway. And it's amazing how they see it, the other drivers, how there are not as many accidents as they supposed to create by this kind of, ignoring the rules. But yeah, I mean, some people can just get stuck on the road, neither move forward nor backward. So some people are stuck on this planet, but many people going down also to the hellish planets. So, but everyone is on Krishna's path, no matter what they do and where they go. So that's the idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it seems like his path is his set of rules, and the consequences of, which includes the consequences of either following or not following those rules.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Okay.
One
Thank
way
you
to
so much.
understand. You're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And there is another one from the chat from Vajasila that conflict resolution class, I mean, of course, it's a separate and big topic, but I'll give you the most important thing from that conflict resolution. And our whole life is the conflict, especially in Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is the age of quarrels and hypocrisy. And the main thing is that any conflict in my life is my conflict with Krishna. If you just remember that, that is the most important thing, because nothing happens without Krishna's will. So if I have problems with anything or anyone, it means I have problems with Krishna, because everything happens according to Krishna's arrangement, one way or the other. All right. So if anyone else has question, we have only 1 minute left, as far as I understood, right? Giridhari Charan Prabhu was supposed to be finishing.
Yeah, we're supposed to be finishing in a couple minutes. So I think there's no more questions in the chat, and no one is actually asking live. So we can conclude our class and thank Maharaj for this wonderful lecture. And we hope to see you, Maharaj, pretty soon in New York when everything is cleared with the pandemic issues. So we have your life association, which is the most valuable gift and reward from Krishna to us. And thank you again, Maharaj, for despite your earliest hour, 4 a.m., you started this lecture, and we are so grateful to you for this wonderful lecture. Hare Krishna.
Thank you all very much, and I'll be looking forward to the opportunity to see you live sometime. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande.
Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Good to see all of you. Stay healthy, stay happy in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Bol. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Thank you, Govinda. Giridhari Charan Prabhu, for looking after this class. Haribol.
Most welcome, Maharaj. Anytime.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. Haribol.
You're welcome. Hare Krishna.